this video, I want to talk about the 5 mistakes I see owners of nervous dogs most commonly making and how you can avoid those same mistakes so that you can take that step forward towards a bigger, better, happier life with your dog. So this is based on my free ebook, 5 Mistakes to Avoid with Your Nervous Dog. If you would like a copy to download of the ebook so that you have it to reference back, then I will put the link to it in the description below so that you can go and grab your free copy. If you are new here, hi, I'm Becca. I'm a dog trainer who spent the last 6 years specializing in nervous dogs, helping owners with things like fear-based reactivity, separation anxiety, resource guarding, fear of handling or grooming, going to the vets, those kinds of things. So let's get into it. So this video is for you if your dog struggles with fears, anxiety, or insecurity, and you're trying to find the right answers, but you keep coming across conflicting advice, or maybe you've been trying things and it just feels like nothing is working, and you are willing to put in the work, you're looking for the answers, you want to help your dog overcome their fears and anxieties, you want them to live a better life, and you know that you just need access to the right methods. It is very likely that these 5 common mistakes I see in owners of nervous dogs are happening for you too, and that one or more of these mistakes is the reason you are not seeing progress with your nervous dog. So if we can help you avoid these mistakes and get you on a better path, then you are absolutely going to see better results in life with your nervous dog. So let's get right into it. The first of the 5 mistakes is that you are giving it time. So this advice of they just need time is one of the most common pieces of advice I see given, especially to rescue adopters, but to people generally with nervous dogs, are told to just give the dog time and they'll be okay. Let them come out of their shell in their own time or figure things out on their own. Don't push them, don't rush them. And I get where that advice is coming from, or I get where you are coming from if you feel like you want to follow that advice. Obviously, we don't want to be pushing nervous dogs into situations where they are feeling completely out of control and panicked and fearful, because that's not good for them long term. It's not good for their relationship and trust with you. But the problem with this advice is that nothing changes if nothing changes. For the vast majority of dogs that are displaying fears and anxieties, they have those fears and anxieties out of a genuine belief that something or someone is harmful to them, or that a certain situation should be avoided at all costs. And just giving them time is not going to change those strong opinions that they have about certain people or places or situations. So no amount of time is going to convince them that that other dog isn't harmful to them. They are truly well convinced that that other dog is harmful to them. And so if we just keep giving them time, they're just going to keep living the way they are. And in fact, the habits that they are forming become more ingrained the more time that we give them. So in fact, just giving them time, at the very least, nothing gets better. But more often than not, things will get worse over time as those habits become more practiced and more ingrained. So what you need to do instead is you need to take action to help your dog overcome their fears, anxieties, and insecurities. We need to show them and prove to them that the feelings they have about certain people or other dogs or situations or objects, that those aren't true. We need to show them through firsthand experience that they don't need to feel afraid, or that they can trust in us to take care of them in those situations, that they don't need to go on the defensive. And so it can only be through that dog learning firsthand, through firsthand experiences, that we can change their perception of these things that they find really terrifying or really overwhelming in the world. So you need to be taking action. It just needs to be the right action. Obviously, we don't want to be throwing the dog in the deep end here and just exposing them to things that they are absolutely terrified of while not giving them the right support and the right guidance that they need. We need to be doing our part, but we have to take action. That's step number 1. If you are just giving the dog time, guaranteed that is why you are not seeing progress. So, common mistake number 2, you are following generic dog training advice. There's a lot of dog training advice out there on the internet, and if you are consuming advice, it may be that you are following good trainers, you may be following good advice. It's not necessarily that the advice is bad per se, although there is a lot of bad advice out there, but even if you've found the good advice among the bad, it is very important that the advice you follow is specific to your dog, the type of problems that you have, and the type of solutions your dog needs. And so if the advice you're following isn't specific to nervous dogs, you're going to be missing the mark. And this is a really common problem. It's the reason I decided to use my background in foreign rescue dogs and my expertise in handling nervous dogs to make this my specialty, because I found that there was a real lack of resources out there for owners of nervous dogs specifically, and a real lack of trainers who make this their specialty. And so it's really important that you sift through all the advice out there and make sure that you're only really taking on board what is relevant for you and your dog. Otherwise, you may spend weeks or months implementing a good technique or a good piece of advice, but again, if it's not relevant for your dog, it's not going to be moving the needle long term for the kind of progress you want to see. So you need to seek personalized help from a trainer. That word personalized is really important as well, because every dog is different. And even though a trainer is going to be there to teach you the basics and the foundations, it's really important, I have found, to get personalized advice specifically for nervous dogs, because the pace at which you need to move and the way in which you need to break down steps in the process varies a lot depending on your dog. So you need to get personalized help from a trainer. Don't sign up for any generic programs where you don't have one-to-one contact with a trainer. You need that personalized part for it to be successful, and that trainer needs to have suitable experience and proof of results with dog like yours. So if you're dealing with, for example, resource guarding, you need to be making sure that a trainer you're considering hiring has experience in dealing with resource guarding, and that they can provide proof either before and after, or client testimonials that they can get results with dogs that, for example, resource guard, right? So I'm not saying that you have to work with me. I'm giving you the tools that you need to go and do your research and pick the right trainer for you. But you're needing to look for those three pieces: that they're going to have personalization in their offering or their service for you, that they have experience with the right kind of behaviors, and that they have proof of results with a dog just like yours. Common mistake number 3, you are only working within the difficult scenarios. So say, for example, you have a dog who is reactive. If you are only trying to do something about the reactivity in the moments your dog is seeing a trigger and being reactive, then that is one of the main reasons you're probably not seeing progress. So why is this important? Dogs do not learn under high stress, right? So if we want to be teaching them anything new, and part of the fix is teaching them new skills and new behaviors, we can't do that just in those moments of high stress. They're not in a learning state of mind at that point. And so if you are attempting to fix things in that moment, what you're doing is not teaching the dog, you're not training the dog. It really is just management, meaning that we are just trying to get through the situation, but long term, it's not making any difference for you and your dog, because the learning needs to happen outside of the high stress situations. So you need to work on foundational skills, build new patterns of behavior first in easy settings. We're going to start at home. We're going to start in your garden, on your driveway, quiet areas, and then we would build up towards being around triggers with a reactive dog as an example. And then at that point, by the time you get to those situations, you now have the appropriate skill set to pull from, so that in those difficult situations, you can now be successful at changing your dog's behavior, showing them that this new pattern that they've learned applies in this situation, and actually helping them form new habits and build their confidence in these situations, because you've put in the work beforehand. But if you're only trying to put in work in those difficult moments, that is going to be why you're not seeing progress. Common mistake number 4, you're only using positive reinforcement methods. So positive reinforcement means that we give the dog a reward or praise, or otherwise tell them that they did a good job when they make good choices. But if you're doing that, if you're only telling the dog yes, and we're never telling them no, you are essentially withholding information. You're withholding guidance that could help them get to the right answer faster. And if we are basically giving our dogs half the information they need, we're going to have a dog that's going to be learning slower, a dog that is not going to be enjoying training as much because there's going to be an element of confusion, and ultimately your dog is going to get frustrated with you and the training process. And dogs, especially nervous dogs, crave clear information and guidance. The more muddied the communication, the more stress and confusion you are adding to your dog when they're already stressed and confused. So we need to make sure that your communication is extremely clear, as easy to understand as possible, and helps your dog get to the right answer. So we need that balance. We need to give them fair and consistent feedback, both the positive and the negative, so your dog then sees you as a reliable source of information and not a source of confusion, stress, or frustration. And people get all up in arms about what it means to tell a dog no. We do not need to be yelling at dogs or physically hitting dogs or anything like that to tell them no. It could be as simple as verbal no or It could be some spatial pressure. It could be a little bit of leash pressure. We don't need to be terrorizing our dogs or hurting our dogs to tell them no. If you learn in the right way how to give fair and consistent feedback, we take the dog's stress level down dramatically because we're just giving them the information that they need to get to those right answers and understand what it is that we are asking of them. All right, and then common mistake number 5, you are not staying consistent. So there are no quick fixes in dog training when we're working with an animal. There's just no such thing as a quick fix. There's nothing that you could do in 5 minutes. There's nothing that you could buy and put on your dog or feed your dog that suddenly fixes the problem. It would be really nice if that worked that way, and that's how a lot of marketing around dog products are successful. But it's just the truth. There are no quick fixes. Building your dog's confidence, if that's what they need, or training new behavior patterns will take time. And if you lack in either support or the motivation that you need, you're going to struggle for consistency. You're going to struggle to stick to a training plan. You're going to struggle to show up every day. You're eventually going to fall off the bandwagon. And so to be consistent, you need 3 things. You need to know that the method you're using is right, so you feel confident in it and you're willing to put in the time because you know it's what your dog needs. You need to be seeing steady forward progress. So yes, training does take time, but you should never be spending time doing the same thing over and over and over again and not seeing progress. You should always be seeing, it might be slow and steady, but you should always be seeing progress in the right direction, and being able to recognize that progress is going to help keep you motivated. And you also need to have the right accountability and support. It could be as simple as telling a family member or a friend, hey, this is what I'm working on this week in my training. By saying it out loud and having somebody know about your plan, you are far more likely to follow through on that plan. And you also need support. So if you feel like you come to a bit of a brick wall in your training and you're like, oh my gosh, like what I was doing stopped working, what has changed? Or I don't really know what my next step is, or anything like that. You have some sort of setback. They happen all the time, and you're going to need support and help to answer those questions and help you figure out your next step and help you figure out answers so that you can keep moving forward in your training journey. So in summary, here's a summary of those 5 mistakes. They just need time is not true. You need to be taking action. Following generic advice doesn't work. You need advice specific to nervous dogs and the behavior your dog has. If you are working within the scenarios, you're not going to see progress. You need to be putting in time on foundations and skills outside of the stressful situations first. Positive reinforcement only means that you're just adding more stress and more confusion for your dogs. You're not giving them full answers. And if you are not staying consistent, obviously you're then not going to see the results that you want. So if you want to stop guessing about what your dog needs in training and if what you're doing is right and what you need to do next, if you want the full start to finish solution for your nervous dog to become calm and confident, that's exactly what I help owners achieve with my online program in 16 weeks or less. The program includes over 5.5 hours of lesson and tutorial videos. So I talk you through everything you need to know, and then I show you tutorials of me with a dog. You do exactly what I do with your dog. There is a supportive community of owners with dogs that are just like yours, ready to support you and provide accountability every single week. There are live Q&A calls to come and ask me questions, and I personally give feedback on every single homework assignment. So the course comes with 4 units, and each unit has homework assignments. You submit those so that I can give you feedback, so you're never spent in that loop of, you never spend time in that loop of doing the same thing over and over and not seeing results. We're going to immediately identify if there's something that you need to change or what you need to do next, troubleshoot, and keep you moving, because you need that personalized feedback. Like I said, the generic stuff can only get you so far. You need personalized feedback for you and your dog, what behaviors you need to work on, how you need to break it down into steps that are achievable, and what your plan looks like. And so I'm always there to give you personalized homework feedback and answer questions in the community same day or next day, so you never feel stuck. So if that sounds good to you and you'd like to check it out, then the link is in the description below, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully inside the community so I can help you and your dog. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you, and I will see you in the next one.